Okay, so let's talk about moist heat cooking. So as the name indicates, a moist heat cooking relies on the presence of liquid or steam to cook food. So this method can be used to make healthy dishes without any added fat or oil. So meaning there is no other added or preservatives added to cook food. That is moist heat cooking. Okay, let's talk about poaching. What is poaching? A poaching is a gentle method of cooking in which foods are submerged in hot liquid between 140 degrees and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So what are those food that best for poaching? So like for example, eggs, poultry, fish, and fruits are one of the best example for poaching. Also, a poaching is a moist heat method of cooking by submerging food in some kind of liquid and healthy at a low temperature. So, ang temperature niya is pagpabukal ta is hinay lang, dili siya kusog. That is poaching. And next slide, let's talk about simmering. So what is simmering? Simmering is also a gentle method of cooking food but uses higher temperature than poaching. So mas kusog-kusog ang temperature for simmering than poaching. Usually between 180 degrees and 205 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature range lies below the boiling point and produces tiny bubbles to achieve a simmer. So first, bring water to the boiling point and then lower the temperature. So what are these examples of simmering? So best food for simmering is when we're cooking rice or kanon. So ginapabukalan to siya into a higher point of heat. And then, pag magbukal na siya is ginapahinayan nato siya so that maluto siya and hindi siya masunog. Okay? And also, simmering is a cooking food in liquid or cooking just the liquid itself. So, example of this also is we're cooking noodles. So, pag magbukal siya is ginabutang natin ang noodles and then maluto lang siya with the use of the water. It's water itself. Okay, the next slide is boiling. So we are very familiar about boiling method. So this cooking technique involves submerging food in water that has been heated to the boiling point of 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So the boiling water produces large bubbles which keep foods in motion while they cook. So higher temperature when we talk about boiling. So best food for boiling is eggs, pasta, and vegetables. So, pamuluto taog nilagang itlog, ginapabukalan ang tubig, and then, magluto ang itlog. So, it's what we call magnilaga. Another one is we're cooking pasta for spaghetti. So, ginapabukalan ang tubig, and then ibutang ang pasta, and then para siya maluto. So, that is what we call boiling. Next one is steaming. So we are familiar about steaming. With the use of steamer, we can use steaming for cooking. In steaming, water is boiled continuously to produce a steady amount of steam. So the steam surrounds food and cooks evenly while retaining moisture. Steaming can be performed in a few different ways. So, naga-steam siya, diba, with the use of steamer. And also, this is often done with a food steamer. The heat is created by boiling water, which vaporize into steam. So, kanang ang tubig nga mag-asos and then nag-evaporate na siya. Mao na siya ang heat nga makaluto sa food. So, one of example for best food for steaming is vegetables, fish and shellfish, dessert, and tamales. So I am not familiar with tamales, but dessert. Usually we cook a dessert into a steamer like puto and kuchinta. So that is the process of steaming. Okay, the next one is, let's talk about combination cooking. I am not also familiar with combination cooking, but combination cooking utilizes both dry and moisture cooking method. Foods are cooked in liquid at low heat for extended period of time, resulting of for tender product. So this technique works with the toughest cuts of meat, gradually breaking down fibers until they melt into the liquid. So usually, combination cooking, foods are cooked in liquids at low heat for extended period of time so that the ingredients, the meat, the vegetables are tender and juicy. Okay, the next slide here is braising. So braising, our foods are first stirred in a hot oiled pan, then transferred to a large pot to cook in hot liquid. The foods are only partially submerged in simmering water, broth, or stock. So ginagisa pa siya. So braising is the cooking of meat or vegetable by heating them slowly with oil and moisture in a tightly sealed vessel. So ginasgisa pa siya, and then humanugisa is ginabalin siya sa another pan, and then himo siya og sabaw, broth or stock. So what are the food for braising? So these are meats, vegetables, and legumes. This is best food for braising. Okay, the next slide talks about stewing. So what is stewing? So stewing is a combination cooking that uses small, uniform pieces of meat that are totally immersed in liquid and slowly simmered. So ginasimmered siya so that the meat and vegetables are tenderly and accurately na maluto siya. Okay, so the key difference between stewing and braising is that foods are completely submerged. So luto gyud siya in a hot liquid. While stewing, instead of being partially submerged, smaller cuts of meats are used in stew, but the method of slow cooking at heat is the same as the stew cooks. Fibrous vegetables break down and fat and collagen from the meats melt away. So that is stewing. So I think that's all. So thank you so much for listening and have a great day.